Hello everyone, and welcome to another wonderful time on Global Television. This is time for issues. Right here, we will be looking at something that has become an issue in the society today. It's of a societal concern. And of course, a lot of people have said so many things about it from different perspectives. Sometimes you get confused of who is saying the right thing and who is saying the wrong thing. All right, my name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Have you thought about jungle justice in a while? As a matter of fact, let me just give you a little introduction to the topic for today. We're looking at jungle justice. First, what is responsible? What are the causes of this jungle justice? Then you begin to think of, does it really have implications? If it has implications, then what do we do? What is the solution? Who holds the key to the solution in the society? Is it the people? Is it the government? Is it the average Nigerians? Because jungle justice, as a matter of fact, I'm talking about extrajudicial killing or punishment of suspected criminals by a mob. And that has shown a concerning upward trend in Nigeria over the last, let's say, 3 years. And of course, report also indicated that this form of mob violence is increasing by the day in both frequency and brutality, driving so many perspective, notions, and ideas. But it is actually driven by a lack of trust in the formal judicial system, rising insecurity, and of course economic hardship. But then, do you think these things are capable of instigating jungle justice? But then, let me take us back a little bit. In June 2025, there was a report that Nigeria Risk Index indicated that in the preceding 6 months, 222 mob-related killings were recorded, marking a 25% rise compared to the previous year. But then, reports also have indicated that the southern states often have higher numbers of reported incidents, though cases are widespread nationwide. So it is not just one region that the issue of jungle justice is found. But then, what has the government done about it? Do we have a solution? When can we wake up and say, no, there is no jungle justice in the country anymore, in the state anymore, in the community anymore? All right, have we been able to identify the causes? Have we been able to talk and educate the people about the implication? Has there been solution so that these things don't happen again, so that we can have a sanitized society? These are going to form the basis for our discussions today. I have two guests joining me on the program today. A lawyer is going to be with us on the program today because they are the custodians of the law. And in fact, there was, during my introduction here, where I talked about the issue of trust, which has also contributed to jungle justice in the country. But then, the civil society organization, do they even have role to play? Are they playing their roles well? As a matter of fact, the human rights activists, what are they doing? Sometimes they are even left stranded. Sometimes they do enough, and some people will claim they are not doing enough. All this put together will form the basis for our discussion today. And of course, my second guest is yet to arrive the studio, but he's going to join us pretty soon. But right here, I have a lawyer, in fact, a notary public, and of course, he is also a human rights activist, and he's a lawyer in the person of he is someone that, in fact, if you want to talk about the causes, the implication, and the solution, all right, he is always going to provide answer to a lot of questions that a lot of people would want to ask. All right, I have in the studio right here, all right, Alex Obo Esquire. It's good to have you join us on Issues today.
It's quite a pleasure. Thank you so much.
This is the first time you're joining me on the Issues.
It's okay. That's great.
Well, it's good to have you. Well, we need people like you to talk about issues like this, as a matter of fact, all right? Because at least you've been at both side, you know, the side of the law, the side of the people, so you should be able to strike a balance.
Exactly.
Our second guest will be joining us immediately after this break before we get into the conversation. Stay with us. Yes, you can't talk about jungle justice in Nigeria without at least having a close, all right, talk with people who are always at the center to say, well, this is why this happened. This is why that happened. This is not supposed to happen and also not supposed to happen. The civil society organization set up. Well, I have someone, a human rights activist who is going to be joining us. Like I said, he's already seated in the studio, Comrade Kachi O. Gerard. It's good to have you join us on the program, Comrade.
Thank you for having me, Ramsey.
Yes, the issue of jungle justice from the place of the law. When we talk about jungle justice, what are we talking about? Let me get to the barrister in the studio.
Jungle justice talks about where people who are not law enforcement agents, who are not law officers, start implementing justice or judgment the way they feel, like trying to beat up somebody, enforce whatever they feel, should be a solution to the challenge of someone that is suspected to be involved in criminality, without following the due process of law. What the law expects is when someone is alleged to have committed an offense, is suspected to have committed an offense, those who witnessed it are supposed to get the person, a civilian, every citizen has the right in the law to effect arrest of someone who is suspected. But your power is limited is for you to arrest and hand over to the law enforcement agency like the police force, or any law enforcement agent that is closest to you, to arrest and hand over for proper investigation and prosecution. But where people pick up somebody and start carrying out whatever they believe is execution of justice or judgment, either by beating, by torture and all that, that is called jungle justice. Some also call it palm tree justice, And it has very serious challenges. Like in our 1999 Constitution, the Federal Republic of Nigeria has amended Section 36 particularly how to deal with issues affecting the rights of every individual, that everybody has a right to be heard, for you to be able to state your own case, Therefore, when someone is suspected, the person is supposed to be brought before the court of law by the relevant agencies, for the person to be heard, for investigations to be made, and trial carried out. If at the end of the day, the person is found to have been guilty, it is for the court to make that pronouncement. Because what the law is looking at is that all the offenses we find in the law can never be said to have taken place or been committed by anybody unless a competent court of law has tried and declared that to be. So when people don't follow this procedure and do it their own way, that is what we call jungle justice.
Oh, all right, but do you see jungle justice, as a matter of fact, do you think it's growing in Nigeria? It's a growing concern in Nigeria as it has to do with jungle justice? Is it a concern?
It is growing, and there are causative factors. This unceasing incidents of kidnapping, mass kidnapping for ransom, and kidnapping and killing of individuals, and bloodletting that is just going on anyhow in the society is unsettling the people. So if our security agencies cannot checkmate this reckless kidnapping of people, and killing of innocent individuals, it makes people to lose patience. Because if the security forces are working, putting all these things in check, like the security forces will always tell you that they are on top of the situation. If they are on top of the situation, jungle justice will reduce. But they tell us they are on top of the situation, whereas they are submerged several kilometers under the challenge. That brings about increase in jungle justice.
All right, let me get to Comrade Kachi Ojera. During my introduction, I said that there was a line that said some of these things happen because of the lack of trust, all right, in the judiciary. Do you see that as a justification for jungle justice?
Oh yes, of course. When you talk about jungle justice, you talk about self-help. People resorting to, helping themselves when they feel that the system have failed them. And oftentimes we have seen that system continuously and consistently failing the Nigerian masses. I will give you certain examples. I will use myself as an example. A few years back, about 3 years or 2 years ago, 2024, thereabout, I was dropping somebody at Apo Junction here in Abuja, and I was accosted by area boys, popularly known as Aburu. It was like either kidnappers or those that came to snatch my car. We fought and fought and fought. At the end of it, they damaged my car and picked one of my phone. And it was a very tough situation. I went to the police to make a report, as a lawful citizen. police begin to, interrogate me with their jam questions. How many are there? Did they carry gun? That kind of very provocative. At the end of the day, I was asked to pay so that they will get fines and all those.
You pay money?
I didn't.
The police is asking you to pay money.
Yes.
So that they can buy file that they want to use for your
everything.
case.
I'm using myself as an example now. I left that place. I feel, the system have failed me. And if possible for me to just use my mind to configure emergency bomb, not even gun, I would destroy a lot of things. But I managed my emotions, my temper. I left. Good enough, I had to call a friend of mine who is a military, who are not supposed even to interfere in civilian matters or things like this. He advised me, there's no need of using your contacts. Just go to the Area 1 junction, get those National Union of Road Transport Workers and find out their leadership and complain. And lo and behold, I went there, I met their leader. They were able to track the guy and they recovered my phone. I just gave you one instance. Just last year, I'm coming.
NURT did what police could not do.
Yes, I'm just trying to build up the reasons why jungle justice are happening. Just last year, here in the same Abuja, the same axis, a family lost their life with their children as a result of the same circumstance, the same situation, dragging with those area boys. And because citizens have already fed up with complaints, whether you complain to the minister or to any law enforcement agencies, they decided to take laws into their hands. You saw what happened? Jungle justice. The few they were able to get, they killed them instantly. Wherever you see jungle justice, growing on a daily basis, is a pure, not just science, is a result of failure in the justice system, in the law enforcement system, and in the system entirely. I can give you examples. This year alone, on the New Year Day, I live in Buhari Area Council. And we have a DPO whom we celebrate in Buhari Area Council as a very gallant police officer. But then at a point he started extorting citizens, using different system. On the New Year 1st, he arrested over 100 and something persons in Buhari. When they arrest you, they will profile you, they will look at your face. If your face is as fresh as Ramsey, they'll put you in band A. If you are as rough as one Amajiri, you will be in band D. So money no will come out. So, and because he's known for doing such a thing, he foresee that people may resist him. He decided to use their intimidation and Gestapo style. He shot tear gas, he shot live bullets. In doing so, he killed one Ima. He permanently injured one Tasiu. I'm mentioning that this was not, I'm just telling you facts. He injured more than almost 11 persons. But the ones we have at hand, one is not moving, the one is shot at the neck, that one is paralyzed. He doesn't move, he's unconscious. Another have a very blind eye. Another is already dead, buried. Another has a disfigured hand, and so on and so forth. Now, many that we are not injured, we are made to pay bail. No bail is supposed to be free. You will have a lot of wonderful laws, but implementations are the issues. I'm telling you one of the things that bring...
We have a lawyer here, so we will also talk about
I'm telling you one of the things that bring jungle justice. Victims got angry and decided to follow the procedure. They wrote to Inspector General of Police, that's Force Headquarters. They wrote to Force Provost. They wrote to Police Service Commission. They wrote to National Human Rights Commission. Any place you tell them, just write. They lodged their complaint. At Command FCT, the DPO, that's CSP Babayola Mohammed Musa, was summoned. The report we got was that he was saying that he got a report that hoodlums were to, vandalized things. He came and said, okay, what are the evidence? At that particular point, they said the evidence he could produce was banger, knockout. You know, police can dribble a lot. Now, we expected the CP of FCT, CP Miller, to have, you know, show, because justice is supposed to be seen. This is February. We expected him at least at a point to say, okay, young man, stay out of the way so that we can do proper investigation to some of the allegations. All the victims are pointing towards him. They did not say he sent another page. They say he's the one shooting. They kept him there. And the victims continue to cry. In fact, the CP was reported to have come to Buhari last week because of the upcoming area council election and was eulogizing the DPO. At a point, there was an alleged report that he was telling that he would take him to the Baba that do jazz for him. You know, when citizens and youth begin to see situations like this, what do you think will happen in the future? These are the things that give credence to jungle justice. I will give you another classical example. In 2017, former governor of Akwa Ibom State reported that is in video, we can Google it, with his cabinet as a governor of Akwa Ibom State. They captured some herdsmen with arms, AK-47, and handed them over to the police. This is governor, chief executive officer of a state on paper. 3 days later, the same people governor arrested were released and their arms given back to them. It was governor reporting now. What do you think that will happen if people in that community, you know, see people with the same AK-47 again in future? Will they report them to police? That was the reason why you saw what happened at Uromi last year, where they reported that some, I don't want to mention tribes, you know, we are traveling for Salah, and they were caught and they tagged kidnappers, and they were killed. That because people have lost complete hope, trust and confidence in the system, that you can get some. Okay, let me give another classical. I can mention and mention. I don't think they will have enough time. Here in Abuja, a journalist, how did they put itself? A journalist doing his job here in Abuja at Beggar Roundabout on 21st January, carrying out Shiite protests demanding for the release of their leader Ezazaki. He was shot point blank by police from Otako Division. I didn't mention him, so the reports they gave to us as civil society was that there were fracas and that comrade journalist by name Alexander Obu was running something, sleeping in Beggar Roundabout, and he fell and hit his head on the iron there. Those narratives were very close to convincing, but because we know the antecedent, we said no. We must carry out autopsy. Autopsy was carried out at National Hospital, not private hospital. It showed that he was shot at close range. We took the matter to court here in FCT. Court gave us judgment in 2023. This is 2026. Till date, that judgment has not been honored. A award of 50 million was given to the family and the children that he left behind. The family, I was involved in that case, wrote to Ministry of Police Affairs, wrote to Inspector General of Police Headquarters, wrote to Police Service Commission, wrote to any place that is, you can write. My brother, till date, no response. They wrote to National Assembly, no response. So tell me if tomorrow, let me also give you just past January, criminals, terrorists, enter several churches, kill, maim, rape, destroy lives, and those people came out crying, calling for interventions, for help, and you saw the authorities, police, telling them that nothing happened. They are just crying, they are just raising unnecessary alarm. At a point, they decided, okay, give us the list of people that were kidnapped. In a same country, 21st century. When eventually they were released, they say, oh, actually it was true. It becomes damage control. Situations we find ourselves are the reasons why you see people will sit comfortably in their White House and begin to tag us a disgraced country. Look at one that happened in Kwara. They are giving different figures. Authority will give you 75. People on ground will give you 100 and almost 200.
Oh, all right. I'm coming back to you. Yes, I can see, because most of the things you've said are act of experience. So, but we have a lawyer in the studio now. From what he has said, so the issue of police officer, the judiciary, people who are supposed to take these things up, seems not to be doing so based on what he has said so far. What would you have to say about the issue of trust in the system, in the judiciary, in the police force, in all of these people that are supposed to at least mitigate situations to avoid jungle justice in Nigeria?
Actually, the judiciary, I need to make this clarification. I've said it severally, that our judicial system is still too slow. And what causes it, I said it severally too, we don't have enough judicial officers to handle these matters. Secondly, we need very urgent amendments in our laws to fast-track the court system. There's one done in 2015 under the what is called the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. Okay, yes, and the essence of it was to ensure that criminal trials proceed faster than before, and the time limits we are given, and we need more of that even in civil matters. We don't need our cases to drag. And in trying to solve that, we have what we call front-loading system in our court system. If you are filing any process to the court, you are supposed to have gathered the testimony, the evidence, the witness, or the parties involved, and added it to the process you are filing. We call it front-loading, meaning that the evidence you should have used your mouth to give when the time comes, you have written down and signed. As an affidavit, you swear to it, so that when the matter comes to the day you give evidence, all you need to do is just adopt it. What you have already written, you don't need to start talking again. You are standing by what you have written, okay? So that you can now be cross-examined. That's a way of making it to move fast. But we need more of that speed. Because if you look at what happens abroad, you can see where a case can be handled in 7 days. 14 days.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And we need that kind of a thing here. It is not rocket science. It's a question of our leaders being honest. But what happened in this country is that political leaders are too greedy, too selfish, only thinking about themselves, because your opportunity to be in position and you want things to go in your favor. But society doesn't run that way. We should be able to be proactive, to think of the safety of everybody. If the common man is unsafe, the big man is unsafe. Yes, there will be a spillover, and the so-called safety you think you have with the special security you arrange for yourself can be overrun. We are getting to that. So we need a faster means of adjudication. Our court laws should be made to be faster. Our court cases should be made to go faster. Then the Nigerian police need to wake up from the errors they are committing. That is the basic fact. Some years ago in Nyanya, Christmas season, police entered the market in the afternoon and arrested 25 young men. You say they are wandering. People wandering in the market, wandering in the market. And you took them to the station. At the end of the day, okay, we have decided to show you mercy, but all of you had to bear yourself 5,000. It's about 10 years ago. 5,000 was a huge money. So they had to be scrambling, struggling by themselves to look for where to get money to bear themselves. And just like the kind of thing he talked about in Buhari, that kind of practice should not be heard of again in this country. But the police is good at doing that. Just last week, one of the members of our church, an elder, had a transaction, and he was invited by his business colleagues to Eagle Square. He got there waiting for the person that called him, only for the police to go and grab him with other people that are suspected of committing crime, or talking about the criminal activity towards the issue of solid minerals. They were from there moved to zone 3 here, and at the end of the day, they say, well, for some of them, we have discovered that people are not actually the major people we are looking at, but you have to bear yourself with 100,000 each. So that kind of practice just had to stop. It just had to stop, because they have overstretched people. The society is overstretched already, and our leaders are worsening the situation. For instance, you see, this demonstration that happened at the National Assembly, front of the National Assembly on Monday and Tuesday, is worth it. Is worth it. Is most desired. Why? Because they are in power, they always want to make sure that the right laws are not passed in order to use incumbency and rig. Because the issue of not passing that law on electronic transmission to become effective fully is the beginning of the rigging being done by people in power. So that you now tell us that network failed and all. Meanwhile, that IREV used in transmitting electronically doesn't need issue of network. It uses a coded means, so network doesn't affect it. But they are lying that there's need for network, and some of them will tell you there's no. The aim is just to make sure they find a loophole to rig.
We're talking about the issue of protest now.
Yes.
The issue of, I don't know, there have been a lot of complaints about the Nigerian police force. But then, we've not seen any action. Like he said, you listen to some programs, you hear where people say, I've written to this, I've written to that, I've done all of that. Now, if this continues, all right, what are you thinking? And who is even supposed to make sure the police do the right thing? Take, for instance, the issue of bail. According to the law, bail is free.
They even announced it themselves, the first headquarters. I'm just coming from there now. They even carry a lot of campaign, It's just like one of those things, the more you look, the less you see, and that is one of the situations. A situation where somebody is made to pay bail, and because they must collect the bail by proxy, they are using POS, and you generate your evidence. Or a situation where an officer, I used earlier, the likes of the DPO in Buhari shooting somebody. It's not a situation where you say it's unknown police officer or unknown gunmen. Victims identify who shot, and you are still the leader dragging foot. What do you think that will happen? These are the instigators of jungle justice, self-help. If maybe they feel that the system, the laws, we are not respecting, we choose the law to respect, they want to honor. Tomorrow, families of those people, or people who were affected by those kind of injustice, will find a different way of fighting back. If care is not taken, I can cite a lot of examples, but I'm trying not just among the police officers. You have seasoned professional men that have distinguished themselves in the service, but it appears like the bad heads are giving bad image to the service, and the system tends to reward those bad guys. There are no consequences for bad behavior. There are no consequences for a situation where People have written petition against somebody who shot them and killed somebody and permanently injured somebody, and the CP who is supposed to take charge is coming to eulogize the person and telling him to you go show me who they do your tobopo. Does it make sense? Whether it's a joke, it doesn't help the system. 2020, after Alexander Obu was killed, somewhere in the United States of America, a black man was killed by a police officer. That's led to Black Lives Matters. In less than 6 months, Ramsey, justice was delivered from the county, from the state, and even to the nation. That is the president going to the daughter of that guy, kneeling down and apologizing on behalf of the nation. That is how to boost confidence in your policing system. And that same period, we carried out protests against police brutality that metamorphosed into SARS. Ramsey, as I'm talking to you now, many victims of SARS here in Abuja, I'm not talking of any other state, whether Lagos or any place, I'm talking of Abuja. One of them is still carrying police bullet in his leg as we talk in this 2026. And unfortunately for him, he's a teller that dwells in using his leg to sew, married with kids. Here in Abuja, a jambite, brilliant guy that did very well in WAEC and NECO was shot. The mother nearly committed suicide, if not for our intervention. I can go on and go on. A particular guy was shot in the thighs. Good enough, he didn't hit the bone. All these things were before police force. At least no situation is perfect, no organization is perfect. There are lacunas in operations. There are mistakes and errors in operations. One expects that once you observe an error or mistakes, the ability to accept it, make amend, and do damage control by reaching out to the families that are involved and possibly compensating them and identify officers involved so that it will serve as detriment to others who may want to indulge in that kind of situation in the future will be a key. But we are not finding it in this situation. If the Nigerian police force will make it mandatory that if you shoot, not only the force will begin to face it, you as a police officer will face it squarely. If there should be any compensation, that compensation will take you over 35 years of work. They deduct it from your salary. If they can begin to take extraordinary measures to cope all of this, or possibly provide body cameras. In fact, one of the things that give rise to those impunity and abuse of office that continues to rise, brutalization, intimidation, and harassment, is because they have seen themselves as gods, demigods. A situation you go to police officer, they say you're not going with your phone. It's a signal that something is not right in this area. Any law enforcement agency, you go to their office, they ask you to drop your phone before you go inside. It's a signal that something fishy is going on that place. Because a clear conscience fears no accusation. If you are doing the right, what's the sense of limiting what the person who is coming to your office will come in with? So, jungle justice is an eye for an eye that blinds every eye. Both the innocent, both the guilty, everybody will. It was in this country that we are pushing issue of health matters. Let us see how we can upgrade our health facility, do the right things. Many that are supposed to take care of it refuse. At a point, they decided that it's going to abroad that will be the best thing. Some carry their children to go and do transparent. They ended up in prison there. So when they to do the health matters on their own themselves, they came back with body bags. It's a fact. It was in this country that you have accidents in FCT here. They say they don't have hand glove. The least of all. It was in this country that somebody got snake a bit anatics. They went from hospital to hospital. They couldn't rescue such a person. She died. So situations like this, and you see those who are supposed to sympathize and show solidarity to the family are beginning to give you excuses and begin to tell you they saw another snake in the ambulance. After the snake in the ambulance, they saw another snake in the bed. After the snake in the bed, they're trying to give coloration, spiritual coloration, or voodoo coloration to it. You think that tomorrow families like that will not drag those medical practitioners that fell in their duty?
So generally now, what we're trying to say is system failure is responsible for this. Okay, barrister, let me ask you, the issue of bail is free, all right, that is being preached even by the same police, because from what he's saying now, it means these police officers, what they are using to get money from people now is arrest innocent people. By the time they get behind bar, all right, either behind bar or counter or whatever they call it, before they come out, they need to pay something at bail. So how do we address that situation within the confine of the law?
You know, at times I wonder what the curriculum of the Nigerian Police College is. Because I wonder, why are they being taught this kind of a thing in their specialized schools? Because once the police says, let's go to the station, what they are targeting is when you enter there, you not come out. And for you to come out, you pay. Because that's exactly what they're doing. Once you get to the station, they will not tell you that you can't go. Even when you have found out that this person has no case to answer, you should simply ask the person to go. Advanced countries will even apologize to you for time wasted. Your time wasted having been taken to the station and let you go. That's what builds confidence. That's what brings transparency and health to the society. But our Nigerian police is that once you are taken to the station, you must not come out unless you part with money to bail yourself. That is the general practice. You get to the station even to incident a case, you have to bring money for biro, bring money for plain sheet, for file.
Statement sheet.
All right? You bring money for transport to go and do investigation. All these things you have to pay. If you are not able to pay, the matter is dead, an arrival. So these practices just had to stop. If it's not curtailed, that is following this issue of jungle justice. And let me say, jungle justice actually should be avoided by all means as much as possible, because if we get to that level where everybody have lost it, you know, anybody can be wasted at any time. Because you see, why section 36 is insisting on that somebody who is suspected to have committed a crime is presumed innocent until proven guilty, is to give room for proper investigation and for the facts to emerge.
And a fair hearing.
Fair hearing. You see, for instance, those who to carry out blasphemy laws, which is very obnoxious and too satanic and wicked.
Like the body.
You have everybody has what they worship, and they have their codes or their books that guide them in what they do. Christians is the Bible, Muslims is the Quran, traditional worshippers have their own. And this person is not a Muslim, and the person makes a comment, you now declare that it's a blasphemy. Now, who determines what is blasphemous? That is why the law says you don't need to do anything. Get to the court for the court to find out. But no, you decide it there and implement, and then you kill. They have done it several, Deborah and others. You see? So, the leaders, political leaders, religious leaders should do everything to ensure that what is making people to lose their cool, lose their temper, is assuaged, is stopped. Because people are boiling to the seams now. Nigeria is at the precipice. We are getting to a point. But also, I've got that for a society to really move forward, our people used to say that people will never take you serious until you behave like a madman.
Exactly.
So we are getting to that point, like what you see that happen in Peru and some of these countries, where the people organically will troop out and insist on things being done. That kind of thing is needed to stop this issue of extortion by the police in the name of bail. If you are taken to the station and nothing is found, you should be let go. You need to be apologized to. But no, they will not do that. They hold you in to extort money from you. Investigation that they have even concluded, they will say that they are still doing investigation, and that's why they're holding you. Because what the law says is, when somebody is arrested on suspicion of having committed an offense, as long as there are courts within 40 kilometers radius, that person should not be held more than 24 hours or 48 hours.
At the case maybe.
Should be charged to court immediately. But they will hold you for months until they are doing investigation. Whereas all they are trying to do is to humiliate you, to demonize you, to degrade you, and they stop money from you.
And torture
This
you.
practice has to stop. If it doesn't, it is actually the people that are enforcing the law that are sponsoring this jungle justice of a thing. You know, religious leaders should stop all the... look, see the statement made by the Northern Elders Forum. They requested that they should be given time to investigate what is going on, you know, what is increasing these incidences of kidnap and all that by herdsmen. But at the end of the day, elders who are close to their grave open their mouth in this country to say that the Fulanis know all the forests in Nigeria. So why shouldn't the government be paying them to safeguard the forests? Elders, they have caused themselves by that kind of atrocious comment, and they are bold about it.
But now let's get back to that issue of a bail now. How, like all these things, all right, that is happening, how can it be stopped? Is there anything the Nigerian people can do to stop this extortion? You know, the both of you have been pointing fingers on the Nigerian police force, all right? And recently there was a video making rounds where some persons were beaten. I've even seen some were even set on fire in the name of one chance and all of that.
Yes, in Abuja here.
So with all of this, what do you think can be done? Is it the people that need to do it? Is it the judiciary that can write and say this thing that police is doing is against the law? We've had enough cases and all of that. So what is the place of the law, the judiciary especially? Because if anything is going on, all right, the judiciary, can't they rise to the occasion and say bail? There is a law that said there shouldn't be bail. Can't they look at that issue, the judiciary themselves?
Now, you see, there's something about human beings. Before talking of the intervention of the judiciary, what will solve this kind of problem is where the citizens rise up to occupy their office. The position of the citizen. The country belongs to the ordinary man. All right? Those who are elected by the ordinary persons to represent them in order that services could be rendered easily instead of a whole crowd. So those who hold the S's, the power is the masses. We are getting to the point where the masses will have to stand out and insist on things being done right. That is the best way to get it done. Because the provision of the law, you see, the judiciary is guided by the law so much. The judge, like a statement you do make, that, you know, the court is not a Father Christmas. The judge is there waiting for cases to be brought before him, you know, properly, and the law to be followed. He cannot jump outside the provision of the law. And that is why you see that issue of the lawmaking bodies, the National Assembly, the state assemblies, the area councillors, making the right law is key, because it is what is provided in the law that the judiciary will pronounce on. The hands are tied to what the law provides. Until you come before the court and prove a thing, the judge cannot jump out and do. But the kind of things we see, the kind of impunity we see going on, is needing the individuals at the grassroots to wake up and place serious demand. It comes by protest. It comes by insistence.
Okay, let me get to yes. Why have there not been protests in that regard?
There have been protests, Ramsey. There have been protests. We don't protest here. In fact, just a few months ago, about 60 days ago, that some of our protesters, some of our comrades that protested demanding for improvements in good governance and end to bad governance, we are charged treason. We carry capital offense, treason. In fact, in one of the charges, they arrested minors, kept them together with adults, refused to feed them, carried them to court without footwears, without proper clothes. They look very malnourished, almost facing kwashiorkor. It became a global embarrassment. They tried to drag every decent voice, including organized labor, into the protests. You are in this country just to scare and create fear in the minds of the citizens, not to raise their voice, not even to cry. But it's impossible. Now you are talking about profiling solutions, to issue of jungle justice or improving the system. One of the cardinal things, not just the justice system. Of course, justice is part of the problem that is creating even this jungle justice. When injustice, you go to the last hope of common man, which is the court. At the end of the day, they will throw away the hope. At the end of the day, launch on to technicalities to give whatever judgment they will give, that even the deaf and dumb will feel that injustice has been meted here. I think one of the best ways we can begin to tackle these things and begin to reduce impunity, abuse of office, is first welfare of the law enforcement agencies. When they are well paid, the same way they are paying those in the National Assembly. If maybe a recruit police officer today starting starting salary can start with 400,000 naira. He's well fed. Anything money can buy for him, he can provide it. That is the first step to reducing those covetousness, those greed, those that does not stop that everybody is perfect. That does not mean that you will not get bad eggs, but it will reduce it drastically. But situation whereby their take home cannot even take them personally, let alone for their families. Where they sleep, you cannot, in the same country, animals cannot sleep there. You understand? The conditions you give them, whereas they have guns, it pushes them to, sometimes the one that don't want to indulge will end up indulging because they have to meet end means. So if we begin to take care of the welfare of these officers, and you begin to talk about human rights principles, you begin to talk about human rights promotions, it will make sense. Just throughout last year, we saw more than the half part of last year, retired police officers in form of pensioners make Ministry of Finance their home on a daily basis, protesting. It goes to tell you that even though serving knows that if they finish serving, their pension may not be guaranteed, therefore they want to settle themselves before they finish. And that is what leads to extortion, intimidation, harassment, and what have you. And if we begin to ensure that consequences are done to those that, okay, every year we make provisions for police force. These provisions includes provision of these stationaries, whether it's writing materials and what have you. But it doesn't trickle down. It means that somebody is converting or diverting it. How have we handled it? Because honestly speaking, if you go to those divisions and do investigative journalism, you discover that many of them are suffering because what's supposed to get to them are not getting to them. A situation whereby you have an emergency and you call police to do intervention, they tell you they don't have fuel in their car, and you get it discovered they don't have fuel. What do you do? So we need to be honest to ourselves, and the ruling class must do something. It shouldn't be a situation whereby they will begin to duplicate offices, and that is where we begin to call the commander-in-chief in this kind of situation. All right. Last year he announced to us that Orusayen's report will be implemented under 6 weeks. Instead of implementing it, he started creating more ministries.
All right. Time is not on our side. I think the blame is going more to the system. But then, what do we need to do? I think we need to resort to one or two things that will cushion this effect. Well, thank you very much. for joining us on this very wonderful conversation. Thank you, Barrister, for being part of the conversation.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Comrade, for joining us on issues today.
Thank you for having me. It's the opportunity to call for improvement in the policing system.
That's
Those
right.
that have been identified must be either made to face consequences for their bad behavior so that others will learn.
All right. Everyone, this is the size of the conversation. We'll come on your way again. My name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Bye-bye for now.